Alright, there is two things I want to say before this video starts. One, I want to say that we just hit 1.5k on the channel, bro. On Christmas Day, we hit 1.5k, bro. Like, I truly cannot thank y'all enough. Like, I don't know. Like, I know this year has been kind of slow for me in terms of just uploading, but, you know, even to just hit that is just, like, amazing, man. And I truly can't thank y'all enough. Like, I really be sitting here sometimes thinking like I'm really doing this, and to be honest, like I be thinking sometimes like should I keep going, you know, no, will I continue to really grow, and do people truly like my content? And you know, every day I'm reminded that, you know, there's always just somebody looking forward to me posting, and you know, just me keeping you guys up to date on things. So I really appreciate the people who, you know, are sticking with me and, you know, just rocking with me, man. So another thing is follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My Twitter is a little dry. I need y'all to follow me on Twitter. I feel like you guys have been doing a decent job on following me on Instagram. Twitter, on the other hand, Twitter is a little slow right now. I don't know if you guys just don't really use Twitter like that. Y'all need to get on Twitter. Twitter is highly superior to Instagram in terms of comedy. Like, I swear, it's much funnier. You guys won't regret making a Twitter account. And the stuff that, you know, I post, or, you know, just people I follow, basically, y'all won't be disappointed. So download you a Twitter if you don't have it, and hit me with that follow button. I don't want to talk for too long. Today, we will be reacting to scary Christmas horror stories. This one is by Merrily Mary XO. So if you do like her animation style, definitely hit her with a subscribe. Y'all know I leave all the links to these people's channels down in the description. This one is called The Christmas Witch Animated Horror Stories. So
this happened back when I was about 14 years old. My brother had to help raise money for his school's musical, and had to sell a box full of chocolate bars. Because he likes to leave things last minute and was getting desperate, my parents made me accompany him. I really didn't want to, but luckily, my best friend Kathy tagged along. We left Friday after school, and Kathy helped me plan out the perfect route. We decided to focus on the bougie area of our town, so came from old money. We visited the big houses with Christmas decorations and lights on, and were amazed by all the adults who actually answered their doors. They even bought multiple bars of chocolate. They were especially interested in hearing about the musical, and asked Brian if he could sing a Christmas carol for them. Some of the adults were feeling extra generous.
he got that cash?
They handed him extra cash and offered us tasty holiday treats. Kathy and I were getting into the holiday spirit after seeing all the decorations and kindness, so we stopped here and there to take selfies with the decorated houses as our background.
You guys are walking too slow.
My brother was walking ahead of us, eager to sell the rest of the
Why do you
chocolates
sound like
and get
that?
more tips. And because he was being really hard-headed and didn't want to slow down, we decided to mess with him.
Shh. Crouch down so he doesn't see us.
While he was a house ahead of us, we hid behind a tree and waited for him to realize we were gone and start crying. We knew he'd be safe, and we were still able to keep an eye on him from where we hid. But after a few minutes, I poked my head out because he hadn't noticed us gone. I saw him standing in front of a house with all its lights off.
What the heck is that fart face doing now?
Confused, I walked towards him.
Brian, come back here now.
I got closer to the house, and he ignored me. I approached the front porch and saw Brian with a dazed look on his face. An old woman was extending her hand out towards him, and he grabbed it. I was screaming at him to stop what he was doing and that we had to head back home ASAP. In a split second, he stepped through the threshold.
He followed
and
her
entered the
inside
house.
that. Bro, at that point, you gotta whoop him. You gotta whoop
I
him.
ran up the steps while the door was closing and blocked it with my foot. At that moment, I got a glimpse of an odd-looking woman. She was in her 50s, had dark black disheveled hair and light green eyes that looked otherworldly.
Call the cops on this lady. I know she heard
She immediately
you.
locked eyes with me, and I had to blink twice so that I wouldn't get mesmerized. I was telling her to leave my brother alone and called her all kinds of names, but she just stared at me in silence. I was starting to panic, but knew I had to protect my brother. So I pushed her aside to grab and pull him away, but she also grabbed him too, and she tugged. He screamed
Bro, hands
in pain.
off my bro. What are you?
I put my fears aside, took out my phone and snapped a picture of the crazy-looking woman for evidence. I told her that I was going to report her for being a sad, creepy woman who preys on little children during the holidays.
Okay, you
The
done
flash
took too
startled
many
her.
photos. Why you took like
So
4 or
she
5
let go
photos?
of Brian and pushed him out the door. I tried to catch him. She looked at me once more, then closed and locked the door. Brian fell to the ground and snapped out of his trance. I stood there in shock, because when I took
And-
the picture, the flash revealed something entirely
Bro,
different.
in shock, run.
She looked
What do
like
you?
a witch or a demon with beams of light coming out
Nobody
of her
just
eyes.
sees that in real life and then,
Kathy ran
you know,
over and pulled Brian
No.
and me away from the house. She said she recorded the whole thing. I looked down at Brian, and he looked like he was going to faint.
What happened? I couldn't control my body. I tried to fight back, but it just hurt a lot. I'm sorry. I didn't want to go there.
Relieved, I hugged him and we all ran back home. Kathy went back to her place. As soon as I entered the house, I told my parents what happened, and they called the cops, who then went straight to the odd woman's home. We anxiously waited for any news from the cops, and I hugged Brian and told him that everything would be all right. His arm was starting to bruise, so I iced it for him. The police went to our house afterwards and looked a bit annoyed. They said they had to storm into the house because no one answered the door. They asked
I
us
hate
to
those
describe
types of
the
cops.
woman
Like,
and to repeat the
do
address
your
again.
job.
I explained
It
everything
is your
again,
job. Like,
and
why
the
are
police
you?
looked at me in disbelief.
But you pissed at
I
me.
grabbed my phone to show them the picture of the woman. But when we looked at the photo, it was completely blank.
What about the video?
The cops thought I was lying and were about to leave. Apparently, they broke into the house and found out that nobody has lived there in over a decade.
What about the video?
We were all speechless. I knew that I took a picture of
You!
the woman. Why was
Where's
it
the
now
video?
blank? Then I remembered that Kathy filmed the whole thing on her phone.
Alright,
We
bet.
called Kathy's parents and asked if they could bring her phone over. When they got to our place, Kathy pulled out her phone, and again, the footage didn't show the woman.
Wow.
However, it showed me grabbing Brian's arm and pulling him away from the house. We were all so confused, and Brian was crying now. My parents were embarrassed and apologized to the police as they left. Our parents sat us down and asked us what really happened, but they didn't believe us. Brian couldn't remember anything and continued crying. They accused me of hurting Brian because I wasn't interested in accompanying him and probably wanted him to hurry up. I got angry and ran to my room. I couldn't believe that I was being blamed now. My parents grounded me for a month, and Kathy wasn't allowed to hang out with me over the Christmas break. Brian remained silent. Even I was starting to doubt myself and thought that maybe I was going crazy and made this woman up. But I would never hurt my little brother. I went back to the creepy woman's house every day after school, and the place was always deserted.
You went back
Exhausted,
there
I
after school
apologized to my
every day?
parents. Once I got my phone and laptop back, I started doing some research.
Couldn't be
I
me,
looked
bro.
up the
Could not be
address.
me.
And apparently, the house has been abandoned ever since the owner disappeared after being found guilty of child abduction. I even found a photo of the owner of the house. And of course, it was the creepy woman from the night of the incident. But of course, when I brought it up again to my parents, they didn't believe me. Brian doesn't remember the woman due to being in a trance, and Kathy didn't get a clear glimpse of her from where she hid. I feel like I'm going insane now, and still go to the house after school. I won't give up until I come face to face with that woman again.
Okay, so listen. What I just got from that is she thinks she's crazy, but she got the whole thing on film, but you just can't see the lady. So, on top of that, she goes back there every single day just to see the lady. That's just really messing with my head because it's just like, why? Alright, this one is called Krampus Christmas Scary Story, also by Merrily Mary XO. So, y'all know, if y'all want to subscribe to her, go ahead and do that. Let her know where you came from in the comments.
This is a story from when my mother was a young girl in Germany. On this particular December, the ground was covered with snow, and the sound of carols filled the air. The villagers of Ramsau, a small German village, were preparing for the upcoming holidays. Some of the villagers were full of joy, awaiting the presents and delicious dishes they were going to prepare, while some people were full of fear. Many years have passed since the incident on the 5th of December. When my mom was a little girl, her parents always talked about Saint Nicholas and his counterpart,
Why he moved like that?
Krampus.
Why he
In her
moved
village,
like that?
there was a girl named Frida. She was a blonde girl with eyes as blue as the sky and a lovable personality. All the children, including Frida, were told from a very young age to respect the traditions and to behave well. Frida didn't believe in Santa Claus or Krampus. What she did believe in was doing whatever she wanted to do whenever she wanted to do so. It wasn't a secret.
Them is the same people that get coal on Christmas and then be surprised that they got coal on Christmas.
That Frida was a reckless child. She stole candies and beat the other kids in her class. Unfortunately, she didn't foresee the events that were about to follow when the Krampusnacht came upon Ramsau in the year 1968. For her, it was just another successful day of bullying her peers. She ate her dinner and quickly went to bed. Frida couldn't fall asleep for some reason, so she stayed up late. The clock hit midnight. The lights in her room went off. Frida could hear the sound of a distant chain clanking, accompanied by bells. Her window suddenly broke open, and with it, a massive shadow slipped into her room. In the darkness, she could make out the figure of a person with horns on its head.
Did they mention the broken glass?
Frida quickly realized that it wasn't her father playing tricks on her. It was Krampus. The goat-man abomination charged at her full speed and grabbed her. Her screams slowly muffled away when put inside Krampus's sack. Frida's dad rushed into her room with his hunting rifle. He stood paralyzed as the devil before him struck him with his whip and sent him down to the ground. While laughing, Krampus's wicked laugh woke up the neighbors, but Frida's screams woke up the entire village. A hunting party was quickly gathered together with their hunting dogs. They tracked down the evil beast into a cave unknown to most of Ramsau. There they saw a gruesome image.
What are y'all gonna do?
Skeletons were scattered along the path to the main chamber of the cave where Krampus dwelled. There they saw Frida. She was locked inside of a cage. In front of her was a boiling cauldron. The group of men ran in and attempted to save her, but alas, the lock was unbreakable. It didn't take long for Krampus to appear and wreak havoc. Frida's father begged Krampus to release his daughter, but the creature didn't listen.
That's the same dude that came out his room with a shotgun. Look at him now. Begging.
The group ran away in terror, leaving him and Frida alone with the devil's pawn. The flames under the giant pot started burning with mighty power. The cauldron started lifting off the ground. Her father screamed and said to take him instead. Then the devil himself appeared, agreeing with the terms that Frida's father was giving. She was freed for the price of her dad's soul. The last seconds of her father's life were of him smiling at his daughter while inside of the cage, unconscious. The next day, Frida woke up in her bed. The window wasn't broken. She went downstairs to find her mother making breakfast. When Frida asked her mother where her father was, she turned around in confusion and said that she never had a father. Her mother's words weren't taken seriously for the next 8 years, but gradually, she forgot about his existence and tried to be good. Her life went on without anything as dramatic as her encounter with Krampus. That was until
she remembers
gave
Krampus,
birth
but
to
not
her
her
daughter,
father?
Ida. Ida grew up to be just like her mother, and just like any other child, she was mischievous from time to time. The holiday traditions grew old, with nobody to follow them. Children were disappearing, but no one believed in the legend of Krampus. They opted to believe that when a kid vanished from thin air, they were taken by wild animals. No one but Frida and a few other people, whose parents gave up their lives in order for them to be free, believed. Only those people kept their children at bay when the 5th of December came around. One year, Frida and Ida were enjoying their evening in front of the TV. The time was well beyond 12 o'clock. After being sure for another year that Krampus wouldn't take her child away, she took Ida to bed and then got ready herself. Frida's husband was off on a business trip in Hamburg, leaving the whole bed to herself. Suddenly, she could hear a weird sound inside of her head, almost like the sound of chains, which then transformed into a loud thud. Then another one, and another one.
You gonna wake up?
When she heard a scream, she finally opened her eyes. Frida rushed to her daughter's bedroom, only to find her fast asleep. The doorbell rang. Frida cautiously grabbed a knife from the kitchen and went to the door. She looked through the peephole. Nothing. She then cracked open the door. On the welcome mat, there was a steaming piece of coal. It had a ribbon tied around it. She picked it up and stared at it in confusion. Then the memory struck her. Frida threw the coal to the ground and sprinted upstairs. To her misfortune, she was late. The bed was empty.
Took her.
Mutter, was ist los?
Gosh.
She turned around. Ida was at the door, holding a glass of water. Frida sighed in relief, but it was at that little moment she'd regret for the rest of her life. As Ida was approaching her crying mother, a pair of long and muscled arms with large claws grabbed her from behind. Ida screamed and her glass of water fell to the ground. Frida looked up and saw him, with a huge grin on his face, stuffing Ida into his sack. Krampus. Frida screamed at Krampus while lunging the large kitchen knife into him, but it didn't affect him at all. He looked down at her and smiled with his bloody teeth. Krampus pulled out a note from the sack on his back and placed it in her hands. I will take everything from you. Only death can save you from the sleepless nights and the loss of the ones you love. Crying, Frida fell to her knees and begged Krampus to spare her daughter's life and to take her instead. He looked at her and smiled even bigger while saying,
Vida fatta, så de tokte. Deine Schulden werden jetzt bezahlt.
He released Ida in exchange
That sounds
for her
stupid
mother.
demonic. I'm
Ida
not
looked
gonna
at
lie.
her while tears rolled down her face. Frida simply smiled before being put inside Krampus's sack. Ida ran to Krampus, but before she could grab her mother, Krampus laughed, and with the snap of his finger, Ida fell down, unconscious. My mother would tell me this story every December, but this year she looked at me as tears rolled down her face and revealed my family secret. Vergiss deine Frida nicht, meine Tochter. Sei ein gutes Mädchen. Krampus is real.
That was good. That was a good story. Shout out to Merrily Mary. Oh, I said EXO. My bad. VO. Shout out to you. I bet she wish she ain't take that candy now. Alright, this last one is called Creepy True Christmas Horror Story by Mort. I think we reacted to his story before, if I'm not mistaken. So if you do like his animation and his style overall, go ahead and hit him with that subscribe button.
It was Christmas and I was a freshman in high school.
Oh my gosh, this dude has
My family has been split up for some time, so normally we trade off Christmas Day and Christmas Eve each year. And this year, I had come home early from my grandparents' Christmas party, while everyone else was at my aunt and uncle's celebrating another party. When I was dropped off, my cousins offered to stay with me for a few hours, but I declined. I thought I could watch some of my new DVDs and get some alone time in this house, which is a rarity. I had noticed an unfamiliar car parked on the street, but didn't think anything of it, considering it was Christmas Eve. Probably a neighbor's relative or something. I hadn't been home for more than 15 minutes when there was a knock at the door. I unlocked the door and opened it only a crack to see a man standing there.
He got the lines.
Dark hair, glasses, slightly overweight and dressed casually. He didn't look like much of a threat, but my stomach dropped. He asked, I was wondering about the car outside. Is it for sale? I told him I don't think so. Is there someone here I can talk to about it? I said, quite stupidly, no, you can come back another time. And I shut the door and turned the lock as fast as I could. He reached for the door handle immediately and started pounding on the door. I heard a string of profanities and the pounding stopped.
Back up!
Terrified, I was crawling on the floor to the phone, hoping he wouldn't be able to see me through one of the windows. Then I heard the noises. Our house has an open garage door, and it led through to the laundry room, where the door lock was broken and no one had bothered to fix it. Just then I heard a man yell and I saw the man through the window run to his car and drive off. My uncle had gotten him, just in time, and he scared him away. Who knows what would have happened if he hadn't made it home in time. Sadly, we didn't get the plate number, and nothing ever came of it. But I'll never be home alone again on the holidays.
Oh, creep. Merry Christmas. That was good too. That was good too. Shout out to Mort, man. If y'all did like these Christmas horror stories, go show them some love. Go subscribe to them. You know, I'm pretty sure they all come out with stories on the regular. So go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm about to get some sleep because it's early in the morning. And when I wake up, I want to eat. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas, man. I hope you guys get all the presents that you guys want. I love you guys. Thank you for 1.5K. I'm out. I'm about to hit the bed. Peace out, y'all. Love y'all.